sniper Private Billy firmly loaded a bullet to his Bren rifle. He trained his sight toward a man in a white suit. Commandant Pat Quinlan told Private Billy to aim for his heart. He carefully scoped for the man's heart and accurately hit the target. This film is based on true story about a small contingent of the Irish Army's 35th Battalion, designated A Company, serving as part of the United Nations operation in the Congo. During the outbreak of civil war in Congo, their Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba was abducted through the orders of Moise Tshombe, leader of the secessionist state of Katanga, Congo. Moments later, he was executed. Because of this incident, Dag Hammarskjöld, Secretary-General of the United Nations, firmly assigns Dr. O'Brien is on a mission to head up a United Nations peacekeeping mission to put an end to General Tshombe's antics. Infantry company of Irish peacekeepers who arrive at the UN compound at Jadotville, a mining town in Katanga. It was headed by Irish Army Commandant Pat Quinlan. After examining the compound, Quinlan decides that it is wide open to attack and orders his men to dig trenches and defensive fighting positions. Meanwhile, O'Brien orders UN forces to launch an attack against government buildings held by the Katangese in Elizabethville. They call it Operation Moore-Lewy. While purchasing ration in the nearest town, Quinlan meets French mercenary René Fawkes in a local pub, who has been hired by the mining companies allied to Tshombe's government. The following morning, Commandant Quinlan orders Sergeant Prendergast to inform Dr. O'Brien about the presence of mercenaries in Jadotville as an attack on the UN compound is looming. Dr. O'Brien just shrugged it off and told the sergeant that his commandant was just overreacting. One morning Dr. O'Brien received the news that Operation Moore-Lewy went wrong. Peacekeepers were attempting to seize the city's radio station, and 30 unarmed Katangese radio operators and employees were accidentally executed by UN soldiers. Dr. O'Brien frustratingly orders Desmond to hide the incident from the UN reports. In retaliation, Fawkes was ordered to attack Jadotville UN compound. At 7:40 on the morning of Wednesday, September 13, 1961, the Katangese attacked while many of the UN Irish troops of a company were attending a religious mass. Expecting to take the men off guard, the first attackers moved in rapidly but were spotted by Private Billy. He screams to alert the troops but nobody hears him, so he thinks of firing at the bell so they can hear him, and finally, they are alerted. They quickly take out their weapons and disperse throughout the compound. Private Billy noticed an attacking Humvee with Fawkes firing with a machine gun. He aimed for the driver, hitting him in the head. During a brief ceasefire, one of the Irish soldiers is hit in the right hip. He screams in agony and falls to the ground. A sergeant nearby quickly carries him while the enemies continue to fire on their position. Minutes later, the enemy's numbers are dropping. Fawkes unexpectedly orders retreat, and the Irish soldiers tremblingly stop firing. Bodies of the enemies are seen scattered around the compound. Commandant Quinlan receives a call from General McEntee. He begs for reinforcement. Dr. O'Brien then arrives to grab the telephone from General McEntee. He answers Quinlan's call and frustratingly demands him to remain calm. Commandant Quinlan is strongly persuading him for assistance. O'Brien gives back the phone to McEntee only to reiterate to Quinlan that reinforcement is immaterial at this time as all their forces are busy dealing with the Katanga radio station incident. General Tshombe is smugly speaking to the media about the incident in Jadotville in the meantime. He feels that the UN peacekeepers have become aggressors, and while Dr. O'Brien observes him from the TV, he angrily tells Desmond to arrange for a private meeting with him. One cloudy morning in the UN compound, the Irish soldiers spread their position. While on a lookout, Commandant Quinlan viewed the enemies through his binoculars when he spotted an enemy attack. He alerts his men to get ready. During the open fire, Commandant Quinlan orders Private Bill to shoot the man in a white suit standing near the enemies. He assumes he has the upper hand over them. In one shot, the man in a white suit falls dead. Fawkes notices about what just happened to his employer. He screamingly orders a retreat. Moments later, he raises a white flag as he moves closer to the UN compound. Commandant Quinlan meets him as he holds a long branch with a wide handkerchief as they stand face to face in the field. Fawkes vainly demands Quinlan to surrender. Commandant Quinlan confidently did not accept the offer as he counter-offered Fawkes that they will be the one to give up attacking. Frustrated, Fawkes then asks for a ceasefire to carry their dead ones away. Minutes later, emergency vehicles briefly park on the field to carry the injured and the dead. But enemy soldiers stealthily come out from the vehicle and crawl to the ground and hide themselves through the grass. Some of the enemies unnoticeably hide in the tall grass as the emergency vehicles depart. One of the Irish soldiers suddenly notices a trap on the field and screamingly alerts his comrades. Unexpectedly, the enemies bombarded the UN compound. They repeatedly strike mortar ammunition in the area. In response, the Irish soldiers opened fire and struck mortar ammunition at the enemy's position. Seeing this, the enemy got somewhat dispirited and retreated again. Meanwhile, Dr. O'Brien and General Chambe had a secret meeting. Chambe asks O'Brien to make a UN resolution to recognize him as the legitimate president of Katanga, to which O'Brien says it is not realistic. Chambe reminds O'Brien that he knows the incident of the Katanga radio station massacre, to which O'Brien denies. Chambe departs, saying that he never forgets the presence of UN troops in Jadotville. Meanwhile, Commandant Quinlan requests again for reinforcement from General McEntee. He promises to send reinforcement tomorrow morning. As they were speaking on the phone, in a split second the enemies bombarded the UN compound. The structures in the compound light on fire. The Irish soldiers hastily save their ammunition before everything turns into ash. In the United Nations Conference Room, Secretary General Hammarskjöld is being questioned for mishandling the mission in Katanga. He quickly responds to the accusations and leaves immediately. As a result, Hammarskjöld instructs his deputy to call General Chambe, telling him that he is flying down to Congo to meet with him. The Irish soldiers in the UN compound have little supplies left to survive, with water being poisoned by the enemies. Subsequently, General McEntee contacts Commandant Quinlan just to notify him that their supposed reinforcements failed to reach them as they were met by the enemies in the bridge near the UN compound, and that they were cornered and outnumbered, resulting in their retreat. Frustrated, Commandant Quinlan lambasted General McEntee. The enemies staged an attack again, but this time fighter jets dropped a bomb on them, leaving the Irish soldiers dazed and confused. Meanwhile, while Hammarskjöld is on a plane on his way to Congo, talks to O'Brien, putting all the blame on him about the failed operation in Congo. A jet fighter suddenly appeared at their back and shot down the plane, killing Hammarskjöld and the crew. A UN Army flight medic is on the way to the UN compound to give medical assistance to the Irish contingency, but as the UN Army flight medic is about to depart, one of the enemies from a distance aims his bazooka at it and swiftly shoots the chopper and about to crash. The injured soldiers accidentally fall from the chopper meters above the ground. Luckily, they manage to survive as Commandant Quinlan and the others hastily carry them right before their body gets crushed. The enemies return again, but with a more significant number. With no bullets left, Commandant Quinlan orders his men to quickly gather all the shells on the ground. He commands them to set up explosive devices. Irish soldiers await the enemies. As the enemies are close, Commandant Quinlan orders to activate the bomb. The bomb explodes and numerous bloody bodies lay on the ground. The Irish soldiers grab the dead enemies' rifles. As the shooting continued, the number of enemies continued to increase in number. The Irish soldiers continue to fight back. The UN compound is heavily bombarded as the enemies persist in shooting missiles and mortar ammunition. As the atmosphere becomes silent, the Irish soldiers confusingly cease fire due to the fog around the compound. Commandant Quinlan courageously stands up and moves closer to the enemy's location unarmed. As he comes closer, Fawkes angrily points his gun at him as they stand face to face again. Commandant Quinlan surrenders through Fawkes with a handshake. They both part ways. Going back to his men, Quinlan unhappily asks them should they surrender. They firmly respond, no, as they are determined to fight back until the end. Commandant Quinlan is proud of their response, however he already decides to end the war against the mercenaries after numerous attack waves. The Irish soldiers failed to carry out the mission to protect Jadotville due to a shortage of supplies and no reinforcement sent to them. Days later, Irish soldiers are held captive in Katanga prison for a month awaiting their deaths. Luckily, word came that they were to be sent back to Ireland. One morning the Irish soldiers landed in Ireland. As they walked by Commandant Quinlan and was coldly welcomed by General McEntee. The general unhesitantly told Quinlan that all that happened in Jadotville will be hidden because Quinlan's surrender made the institution look bad, including the UN. This prompts Quinlan to hit him in the face, as McEntee provokingly threatens to send him and the others to court-martial for cowardice. The Irish soldiers proudly stand and salute Commandant Quinlan. He smiles as he leaves to see his excited wife waiting for his grand return. If you like more videos like this, please hit the like button and please don't forget to subscribe.